You've probably never heard of it. It's not a famous app, it's not some new piece of hardware. It's a hidden mathematical shortcut, an algorithm that is silently running pretty much our entire digital world. Without it, things would grind to a halt. So today, let's pull back the curtain on this incredible and honestly brilliant piece of thinking.
I mean, think about it. How can an app like Shazam listen to a few seconds of a song playing in a noisy cafe and just know what it is, instantly? It feels like actual magic, right? It has to take that messy sound, analyze it, and check it against a gigantic library of music in the blink of an eye. How on earth is that even possible?
Well, okay, it's not magic. The answer is based on a really powerful mathematical tool that can understand any kind of signal, whether it's sound or light or radio waves. But the real secret, the thing that makes it all happen so fast, is an amazing shortcut that took this tool from a cool theory to a technology that completely changed the world.
To really appreciate just how brilliant this shortcut is, we first have to understand the original problem. We have to see why there was a problem in the first place. So let's start our journey in the slow lane, with the original, powerful, but oh so frustratingly slow way of doing things.
So this is the discrete Fourier transform, or DFT for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a prism, but for data. You know how a prism takes white light and breaks it apart into a rainbow of all its different colors? The DFT does the exact same thing for a signal. It takes something complex, like music, and splits it into all the individual notes and frequencies that it's made of. It's the key to understanding the recipe of any digital signal.
And here's what that prism looks like when you write it down in the language of math. Now, don't let the symbols freak you out. Just think of this as the instruction manual for the computer. It tells it exactly how to take a signal with n different data points and figure out what its core ingredients are. And it works perfectly, but, and this is a big but, it has a very, very serious problem.
Here's the catch. You see that little n squared? That right there, that's the villain of our story. What it means is that the number of calculations the computer has to do grows exponentially. So if you double the length of your signal, you don't just double the work, you quadruple it. For any real-world signal, this just becomes a complete computational nightmare.
To put that into perspective for you, let's take a tiny, tiny signal, just 1,024 data points. That's not even a second of audio. To process that with the DFT, a computer has to do over 1 million separate calculations. 1 million! Real-time analysis wasn't just hard, it was completely, utterly impossible.
So you have this amazing idea, the DFT, but it's trapped inside this incredibly slow, inefficient process. It needed a hero, and that hero was an algorithm called the fast Fourier transform, or FFT. This was the algorithm that finally created an express lane for processing signals.
Now, here's what's so wild about this. The FFT is not some new kind of math. It calculates the exact same result as the DFT. It's just an unbelievably clever and efficient algorithm. Think of it as a much, much better recipe for getting to the exact same place, just way, way faster.
The entire genius behind the FFT can be summed up with a classic strategy: divide and conquer. The idea is simple. Instead of trying to solve one massive, overwhelming problem all at once, you just break it down into smaller, simpler, much more manageable pieces.
Okay, so how does this whole divide and conquer idea actually work when you apply it to the math? Let's take a quick peek under the hood and see the little bit of magic that makes this incredible speed-up possible.
All right, here's the first move. The algorithm looks at that big, ugly problem, and it just chops it in half. That's it. It splits the calculations into two smaller, separate problems. One for the first half of the signal, one for the second. That is step one, divide. Now this is where it gets really smart. With a few clever algebraic moves, you can think of it like rearranging puzzle pieces, the algorithm messes with that second half of the problem. And this one little trick reveals a hidden pattern, a symmetry that you just couldn't see before. This is the key that unlocks everything.
And there it is, the aha moment. What that little rearrangement shows is that solving one huge problem is mathematically the exact same thing as solving two separate, smaller problems and just combining their answers at the end. And here's the real genius, you can just do it again. You take those two smaller problems and break them in half, and then break those in half, over and over, until you're just left with a bunch of teeny tiny problems that are incredibly easy to solve.
So, we've divided the problem, we've conquered the math. But what does that really mean?
What's the real-world payoff for all this cleverness? Well, the difference in performance it's just mind-blowing.
Let's go back to our little 1024-point signal. Remember, the old DFT needed over 1 million operations to solve it. The FFT algorithm, it needs just over 5,000. It's not just an improvement, it's a completely different reality. That's a speed up of over 200 times, and that is the difference between impossible and instantaneous.
And when you actually map out this whole process of splitting things apart and then putting them back together, you get this really elegant and beautiful structure. It's called a butterfly diagram, and you can probably see why. You can think of it as the wiring diagram or the roadmap for the FFT, showing the most efficient path for the data to get from problem to solution.
And, there are actually a couple of different ways to do this trick. You can either split up the signal at the start or split up the frequencies you're looking for at the end. They lead to slightly different looking diagrams, but the core principle is exactly the same. Break a big problem into a bunch of smaller ones to get the same answer hundreds of times faster.
So a smart algorithm made a calculation hundreds of times faster. Big deal, right? Well, yes, it is a massive deal. Because this wasn't just some small improvement that only mathematicians cared about. This shortcut literally enabled the entire digital revolution. It is the hidden engine that powers modern technology.
So where is the FFT today? Well, it's how we compress audio into MP3s and pictures into JPEGs. It's at the very heart of how your Wi-Fi and your 5G phone can send and receive so much data. It's used in MRI machines to build images of the human body. It's in your TV. It's used in astronomy. It's used in engineering. It is literally everywhere.
And that song recognition app we started with? Yup. It uses the FFT to instantly grab the unique frequency fingerprint of whatever song it's hearing. The FFT is the invisible, hyper-efficient engine that took a brilliant idea and finally made it fast enough to build our world on.
The story of the FFT is just so incredible because it proves that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs don't come from building faster hardware. They come from finding a smarter way of thinking. And it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the next brilliant shortcut out there, just waiting for someone to discover it, that's going to unlock the technologies of tomorrow?